right now, hidden inside your DNA. There might be something incredible. Traces of people who lived on Europe's coasts longer than almost anyone else. They survived ice ages that should have killed them. They outlasted empires that tried to erase them. And they left something behind. Not in history books, but in your genes, a signature carved by thousands of years living beside the Atlantic Ocean. And you won't believe how they managed to survive when everyone else disappeared. When you think about Europe, your mind probably goes to the big names. Rome, Athens, Paris, Berlin. The places where power lived and history was written. But here's what most people miss. Europe wasn't just shaped in those famous centers. Some of the longest-lasting populations survived in places where power never really arrived. This is the story of the Atlantic Edge, a chain of coastal regions that history treated like footnotes. But they weren't peripheral to history, only to empires. And that difference changed everything. From the mountains of Asturias to the shores of Donegal, these lands hold something remarkable. The most stable population layers on the entire continent. Now, this isn't about genetic purity. That's a myth. Europe has always been a place of constant movement and mixing. What makes the Atlantic Edge different is relative stability. While the heart of Europe experienced repeated, massive demographic turnovers, populations being replaced over and over, the Atlantic fringe did something different. They absorbed change more selectively. The genetic turnover here was less complete. But why? What protected them when others vanished? Around 10,000 BC, the last ice age finally ended. But northern Europe was still a frozen wasteland. Human survival depended entirely on the south, especially regions like the Franco-Cantabrian zone in northern Spain. Here lived Mesolithic hunter-gatherers, Europe's earliest coastal populations. As the ice slowly retreated northward, they moved with it. They carried something invaluable: deep maritime knowledge. A tradition older than any civilization we know. By 7000 BC, everything was about to change. A new wave of people arrived, and this time, they brought something that would transform Europe forever. Anatolian farmers from the Near East swept into Europe. They brought agriculture with them, changing the landscape in ways no one could reverse. In the heart of Europe, these farmers often replaced the older populations entirely. The hunter-gatherers simply disappeared from the genetic record. But on the Atlantic Edge, something completely different happened. These farmers met the old coastal dwellers, and instead of replacing them, they merged with them. The original lineages weren't erased. They were woven into a new way of life. But the biggest transformation was still coming. Around 2500 BC, Europe faced its most dramatic transformation yet. Horsemen from the steppes, the vast grasslands of modern-day Russia and Ukraine, swept westward like a storm. They brought metals, they brought wheels, and they brought the foundations of Indo-European languages. In Central Europe, the genetic impact was total. The gene pool transformed almost overnight. Entire populations were replaced. But as this wave reached the Atlantic, you won't believe what happened. The Bronze Age transformation that reshaped the continent left completely different signatures in different places. The Atlantic did something no one expected. Today, we can see the proof in the genes themselves. From Ireland to Galicia, from Wales to Brittany, one genetic marker appears at remarkably high frequencies, haplogroup R1b. Not because the Atlantic was isolated from the world, but because the existing populations here absorbed the newcomers differently. This isn't about purity, it's about resilience. The Atlantic Edge integrated change while maintaining deeper continuity. Think about that for a second. While the rest of Europe was being completely replaced, these coastal people found a way to survive. They bent but didn't break. And the evidence is written in DNA. Galicia, where Europe meets the Atlantic abyss. Here, at what the Romans called the end of the world, ancient peoples built stone circles that still stand today. The fishermen living there now carry genetic signatures, linking them directly to those who weathered the ice and the migrations. Ireland, a land where myths are built on biological reality. The tombs here are older than the pyramids. Monuments to a people who knew this land when ice still gripped the north. From Donegal to Cork, the Atlantic lineage runs deep, preserved not by isolation, but by something far more interesting. Brittany, the bridge between Atlantic worlds. Its megalithic monuments, thousands of standing stones, mark this as a crossroads of ancient networks. The Britons speak a language closer to Welsh than French, a linguistic echo of deep biological ties. Wales, where Europe's oldest living language still echoes through the valleys. Welsh survived Romans, Saxons and Normans. A linguistic fortress in the mountains. The same resilience appears in the genes. The Atlantic signature runs deeper here than almost anywhere else, a testament to a people who refuse to be erased. But one place holds Europe's deepest mystery: the Basque country. Euskera, a language that defies all classification, unrelated to any other tongue on earth. Some call it a ghost language, an echo from before Indo-European expansion. The genetics mirror the linguistics, a population that absorbed waves of change while keeping its ancient core intact. These regions weren't isolated. They were networked. Maritime highways linked them long before Rome built its roads. Think of Europe as a manuscript. The center scraped clean and rewritten. The Atlantic edge edited but never erased.